How's everyone doing today? Today is Thursday, April 8th. If you're new here, what's up, new kid? You good? All right. If you're new, my name is Evan. This is Gremlin. He's our little mascot for the show. If you're new here, if you ever go on to any of these channels, whether it's Ricky Gutierrez, Zip Charlie, any of these guys on TikTok or Twitter, whatever it may be, and you're like, damn, how do these guys know what they're talking about? Like, how are they picking this stuff? And you're very confused about that. I'm here to show you, because 9 out of 10 times you go on those apps, it's the same 5 or 6 technology stocks. They're not really doing anything that's that great, obviously, right? With that being said, intermediate traders, if you're only buying the tech stocks as well, if you're the only ones buying those kinds of things, I'm here to help you as well. What we're going to do today, I'm going to show you 8 quality tickers from different sectors, different areas, different kinds of patterns and setups. They're going to be really, really good. I'm going to show you a few great things for technical analysis. In our first one, I'm going to chart with you and show you the fundamental analysis I look at. Now, it's going to be pretty quick, but I'll show you all of that. I'm going to show you supports, resistances, trend lines. I'm going to show you patterns, EMA lines, volume profile, RSI, stochastic, and the vortex indicator. All 8 of those things on every single chart, what I'm looking for and what I see. Again, this is a watch list show. You shouldn't go out and buy all 8 of these. If anything, you should go out and buy 1, maybe 2, when they're at the value that you like, or the EMA line crossover, SMA crossover looks good to you. With all that being said and out of the way, if you enjoy this kind of content, if you want me to feed my cat, like, do you want this boy right here with these fangs? You want him to go hungry? We can't have that. I need you to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. It means a lot to me. We're so close to 5,000, and that's the first milestone to 10,000, and then I can take over the world slowly and surely and make a big difference. Second, with the like, subscribe, and the bell notification, if you really do enjoy this kind of content, the more of that I get, the more folks are going to find it, and the more folks it'll help. So if this has helped you, pay it forward to somebody else by liking and subscribing. Last thing to mention is that I do have a Discord chat. Folks seem to love it. I've had a few folks leave just because of financial situations. They got what they wanted and they left, and that's fantastic. I definitely was glad to have them when I had them. But we have about 320 folks. It's been growing every single month. If you want to take a look at it, 7-day free trial, let me know. If you want to join straight up because you trust me, which I mean, you trust every stranger with pink hair and tattoos and piercings. I mean, come on. No, but if you want to check it out, please do. If you like this kind of content, check it out. Otherwise, if you want to have just a relationship with me, Gremlin, and YouTube, that's totally fine as well. We appreciate y'all being here. With that being said, 8 great tickers. I'll show you the first one, all the charting fundamentals together. Let's get into it. So today we have 8 tickers, and they're from a good majority of different sectors. I like to kind of sprinkle some new ones in. Again, I am focusing real estate, financials, and healthcare a lot, and utilities, and we're going to kind of roll soon into technology and some other ones like industrials and basic materials, but the focus should be on some of these tickers that took a big hit the last 3 months, get in now, let them run up, and then when they start to run up and kind of get overbought, we'll shift our focus to ones that are now oversold and kind of do that rinse, wash, and repeat. First is AR, and you're probably like, where's the charting at? Well, my sweet baby angels, I'm here for you. I'm going to do the charting with you as always. So we're going to find our first strong support area. And again, you can put as many as you want. I put maybe 2 or 3 at most. I think a strong support definitely would be considered here in this area right down here. And again, I always do trend line so I can just, make it a little bit easier on myself. I always do that. So that looks pretty good. I could also adjust this. Now, seeing I see some life happening, I'd definitely move it up maybe a little bit and be like, all right, I think this may be a fine area. I think that's okay. I think a little bit lower makes sense too. Duplicate for our resistance, I would definitely go somewhere probably about, for our first major one, would be probably right about here. Makes a lot of sense to me. A lot of full moves up and down this channel. Looking good to me for our first one. Right there. Boom. When it comes to a trend line, there's not going to be a clear one. I've drawn this one before. You can come over here and see that this would have broken. That's fine. This was a great one before. You can then come down here and see this makes no sense. So I'm going to draw mainly a regression to the mean kind of line. And what I mean is I'm going to put a line here towards the middle where I think half the move is above, half the move is below, or just one that has a majority of hits on it. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. So I'm going to come down here, use this one, and come all the way over. And I can see that if I were to put a line right about here, a lot of major moves bounce off this line now. Right? Bouncing here was a resistance, now it's resistance, now it's being a support, and now it's working out for us. So again, it's done both of this area, so I'm going to use that. And again, this is much more of an expert kind of thing, or more of a what's the word, experienced veteran kind of thing. Again, it works for anybody, but this is what I'm going to use. I'm not going to make it a channel because it is in the middle, so a line works fine for me here. Then we're going to do our volume profile together. Again, you have to do volume profile yourself. This is definitely no shape to it. You can say this is a lowercase b, which again, we'll put a lot more emphasis on this being the major volume node. You want to see it kind of come down to there in essence, but seeing as this has been a long period of time above it, this has no pull anymore really. This is not doing much. I think this may shift up soon to up here. Now we can put our 70% volume lines, and again, this is where 70% of the volume is going to occur. I don't think it's necessarily relevant to this play, but there's some times where it makes a perfect channel for you to buy off of and bounce off of. But I always mark it just in case, because if this does shift in the future, because again, we're putting it in the chart. We come back in 6 months and a new 188 cycles come in and shift this one all the way out, and the price has stayed up at $10 where it is now, it'll be a completely different volume profile. And then we can look at the old one and see where it was at and then track it. If it got higher, that's good. If it got lower, that's bad. So we can see it's down here, not really doing too much, but that's okay. So we're going to do our little point of control. Again, it's not very important to this one in particular, but it is in fact relevant overall. So now that's all placed down, the last thing that I like to do is put the title on it, just so when I post it myself, it's ready to go. Put that somewhere in the middle, bada boom. Now I'll get rid of volume profile. That's all of our charting done. If I'm going to be full with this, I'll put the price targets at the end and everything. So going off of what I see here off the bat, good trend line, super beautiful, grid support area. And again, this may take another day or two. I think that this is probably a better support area right there around 9, 10 or so, and it's definitely selling off pretty hard here, but it's holding, and it does consolidate in this area. You can see how it goes back and forth in this area. So it may come down a little bit farther, may go up a little bit farther. I personally, given the market's pretty bullish, I may wait a day or two to see what it's going to do. If this does in fact come down to about 915, 920, I would definitely buy in. I'm just going to give it a day. You could definitely try and finagle the trend line to fit, and I don't think that's not the best practice. You don't want to kind of be out here finagling stuff or moving supports up to make it fit. Tell yourself that this is where I see it. Maybe the trend line's a little bit higher, maybe it's a little bit lower, that's fine. But I think that this is a fair put. I think it's a good place for it to be at. I would definitely go long if it got a little bit lower. I think the risk-wise, 6%, first resistance is 4. I don't like it right here. For a full move long term, you can also go to the 10-year chart, and we can see that this thing has had much higher highs before, and also it's been, if I can grab that, and it's been kind of coming down for a while now. So you got to think of what's happening. But it is coming back up, and it hasn't really done that very often, right? If it comes down, it doesn't really seem to come back. So maybe they're doing something that's different, but this run up looks pretty good. I like it a lot. Let's check the indicators. What's super cool about this channel, besides me and my cat, is that I do not look at the indicators. I do not look at EMA lines, which I use the 10, 50, and the 200. I do not look at the RSI, the stochastic, or the vortex. This is 100% price action. So when I go through these indicators, the 4 that I use, plus volume profile, which I do look at, these 4 or 5 that I use, I've not seen before. So you can see what I see in live time. It's pretty cool. So what I'm looking at here is that the 200 EMA line is definitely going to be where it's bouncing near, and that's going to be a great convergence spot. And again, we do not buy off of convergence. Every pick should have convergence. You're going to buy AR off of a crossover of an EMA line that you prefer, or an SMA line, or it gets a good value. Either one's fine with me. Right here, it's kind of a no man's land. It's above the 200 in support. It's below the 50. I don't really exactly love it right here. I'm going to give it a day or two to see what it's going to do. What I do love, though, are the indicators. RSI, super low. That's beautiful. We could also see that the stochastic right here is also very low. We want to see it curl north, though. We want to see it come down, cross -40, which it has, and then show some life and curl north. What's great about that with this play is that when partner with the vortex, we can see that down here, that the green line or bullish volume is oversold and the bear volume, which is red, is overbought. And so you pair those with the stochastic and the RSI, this is truly oversold for what it should be worth. So I think this is a good place to buy into given the indicators, but I think price action wise, I would give it a day. Last thing I'm going to do is really quickly what you can do, which is a great practice, is you can use the rectangle tools. I would probably not pay more than $9.40 for this. I'm going to put a box here and make it yellow. That's my loading zone color. And then my price target probably would be based on the 50 on the short term. So I think short term wise, this is probably the area I'd probably go for and make that green. So I do more for my Patreon folks or whatever, but that's what I like to do in essence. And then the best part is, again, is this does take over time, and you you don't want to buy it, you can come back, or you do buy it, you can come back in a month or two, and it'll be past these, and you can see what your charting was like and where you thought it was going to be and what went wrong. After all this charting is done, what I like to do for fundamentals is that we can go to tip ranks. I have the premium. We can see it's 8 out of 10 to perform, looking pretty good. You can see overall it's rising up pretty well. You can see that the PE ratio is pretty low. Revenue is pretty good, low earnings but high revenue, looks pretty good. Price target wise, 5 say hold, or 5 say buy, 6 say hold, 11% upside. It's pretty good. I don't see any names that I recognize that much here that I really care about. We can also see that last 30 days it's been going up, looking pretty good. These guys are opening and stuff and closing it. Some relatively similar tickers, interesting to look at. And you can see overall it looks pretty bullish. Not many people are talking about it bearishly. These folks from Zacks.com or KCI Interest looking pretty good. Showing some life. We have some good articles coming out. So again, I think it looks pretty good. Check your articles. Interesting, it is in the energy sector, which is going up. When it comes to energy, I'd also like to go to the same sector. I hit all usually if it wants to load. Bada boom. I'm going to do average volume over 300. This is definitely a channel up kind of play. So that channel up. I use strong usually. And we can see tickers that are similar to it. And again, this is what I like to do to make sure. If any of these look very similar, it's probably good. The TRGP, I called the other day, looking pretty good. And we can see something like INT, or maybe even in the future, CEQP would look good. And again, that's all I like to do is look at these kinds of things. And that's why I find potential new ones. I always go off of the similar setups that I can see in the same sector. So with that being said, AR, I'd give it a day, maybe a day or two. But overall, AR looks pretty good. Next is AROC. I'm good at talking. ARCROC Inc. I thought I said artichoke, and I was like, I like artichokes. We can see an obvious uptrend recently. Higher low, higher low, higher low. And now this was, it's getting stopped here, which I don't love, but it's back down to its value area. Looking pretty good. The POC is low, but again, it doesn't have much power at all right now. I'm guessing this will probably soon shift up. That'll be a nice sign of strength. But it's looking really good here. When it comes to resistance trend line, this is important. It's making a broadening wedge. And again, this is not perfect. It does cross a little bit. But when you have broadening wedges like this, it's important to understand whenever the shape looks like a megaphone, like this, you must understand if the support trend line, the price action on there does not come down, hit it, and then go up and hit the resistance trend line, that pattern's going to be dead. And when this pattern does die, we got to wait for the new one. Now, there could be a new one forming right now, because if you think this maybe will move, 22%, it's logical to think that. The last move it had was actually 22%. So again, it's possible. It's possible here. Is it likely? I do not think so. So again, we're waiting for the new pattern to form. It could be a little bit, maybe it's making a triangle. We got to see. The only consistent though, this support area and this trend line, which I both like. When it comes to the risk versus reward, we can see that it could easily, hit 4 or 5%, maybe even 6 or 7 on the easy good move, and you're risking what? 3. So a 2 to 1, 3 to 1 on a good move. AROC just had earnings, nothing terrible happened. It has a dividend, which folks do like. I like this stock a lot, looks pretty good. Let's check the indicators. And so here's the beauty of the show and me not looking at indicators early. This is now going to make it a whole new ball game. If I clear the drawing set, don't leave. When you do that, do not leave the page. You'll lose everything. You have to hit Control-Z to bring it back. It's riding the 200. And again, it hasn't done it in a very long time, but it's a very strong support. Usually when folks see price action riding on an EMA line, it's showing weakness when it takes a long time. So we have to hope, and this is what I would do, is I wait for a 50 EMA crossover. We can see the 50s right here. And so this is a great value. I think this is a very good purchase right here. I'm not going to lie. But long term, we can see historically when it gets above the 50 and the 200 is where you get your big runs at. And we have a resistance here and a resistance here. So I may wait a day or two, let it get above the 50 and then test it, because then I can use that 50 EMA line as my stop loss. All of these plays that I talk about, all the plays that you buy, need to have a stop loss. If you're a bag holder, you're being stupid. I like this a lot. Good setup. I need to see a 50 crossover. Personally, for me on this one, I usually buy value, but given how easy it is to read, I want that 50 cross. RSI is fair. It's fair. It could be lower, but I like it here. Stochastic is low at -40 where we want it, and it's starting to curl. That does curl north, and the RSI does curl in the vortex here, which is, bears are over. They're fair. but bulls are oversold. If we can get a cross of the green going over the red, and that does curl, maybe I'll buy into it. But AROC moving forward needs to be your guys' watch list for sure. If it does cross that 50, could be a massive play. One of my favorites of the day, and I'm not really one to be like, oh, it's my favorite, not my favorite, but this one truly is a good setup, is BNED. Now, again, it's a broadening top. In my definition, you could definitely put it where you want to put your trend lines. For me, it kind of looks like it's a broadening top, and it's possible to hit. I mean, this is not impossible. To think that it's going to not make a move of 45, 50%. Is it probable? I doubt it. I don't think so. And we also already had a higher low, so I don't think that's going to be the trend line we're going off of for resistance. I think it's much more logical to do one of these, but I don't think that's even logical in itself either. No, so for right now, it's definitely a falling knife. I would definitely give it, you know, a day or two at least to show some life. I'm not going to buy this one as it's falling. It's breaking the trend line, but we also have a very clear support area, which I would, you know, looking at it again, here's fine, but I also think that somewhere in this area at $6.88, $7 makes a lot more sense. Let it come down to us. Right ahead earnings, so it ran up from earnings, and now it's correcting from that big run up. If it can hold here, if it does show some life and starts consolidating here, it changes the script. I'm sure the email lines may show us something, but a great uptrend, great long-term potential. BNED, if it can hold here, fantastic. If it doesn't hold here, I'm not overly confident about the buying area. It may be a little bit lower, but I do like it a lot. Let's check the indicators. So once again, true to its nature, the email lines show us quite a lot. It broke below the 50 with no sign of coming back. Now it does come back often, but it has not been this far down below it in a very long time. So again, I want to wait for a cross of something. If it's the kind of trader that I am, I like to buy off a value. I think the 200 makes the most sense to buy in with this kind of play. Check the fundamentals. I don't know why it's crashing so hard. If it does hit, you know, 690, I'd be tempted to buy in. RSI, dummy low, right where you want it, looking great. Stochastic looking dummy low, exactly where you want it. In the vortex, I think this may continue. Bulls could come down a little bit farther. They've been on a huge run up. They ran up almost, you know, 20%. It's coming back down, and the bears could become oversold, or sorry, overbought. In 2 or 3 days, if this continues to drop off and hit that 200 email line around $7, could be a choice play. If it breaks at 200, guess what? Just wait. Because if it does break below the 200, keeps going down, starts to curl, well, then you can buy. But the crossover from below 200 to over 200, a very popular play in itself. BNED needs a day or two. Let it keep dropping. Let it get a better price. But overall, long term, this is a great play. So next is one of my personal favorites from last year, CRK. Now, if you were with me since the beginning, what's up? If you were with me since the beginning of, like, you know, November and December, as I started posting on even on Twitter in October, CRK, I'll call it 10 times. I was like, this thing's like clockwork, and I wasn't wrong. It was going from the volume profile line in about 450 up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. I was like, you guys should look into this. And then, of course, those who listened had a great time. Well, recently it broke up. I actually called it over here. It's like, looks pretty good again. And it broke up, and I was like, come back to me. And I was so sad that it left us. But again, it's okay. This is a very good entry point for this kind of ticker, though. CRK has a massive potential long-term for what it wants to do. Check the fundamentals. But this is a great support area. Keywords area. I drew mine, but you got to draw your own. I think right here to about, you know, $5, it can reverse anywhere in here. And it's a very quick, very, very choppy stock. It's much more of an intermediate play. So if you're not used to that, be very careful. If it does live here, you could easily see 5, 10, 15% on full moves, but I think you look for 5 to 8%, get in, get out, and move on with your day. But CRK fundamentals, it checks out. The earnings ran it up. It's looking pretty good fundamentally. I think it could hold here pretty easily, could get lower. Not much of a trend line, I guess. You can see that it has higher lows, but I don't really see a strong trend line. Maybe you do, but I don't. But support-wise and risk-wise, because the risk here is tiny, right? You find your support area. It breaks your support area and holds. You lost 2 or 3%. You get on with your day. You know, you call it a day. It happens. CRK, I do like it a lot. Let's check the indicators. So it's hard to see what's going on. So let's just do clear drawing, set it again. Don't leave. And it's below both the 200 and the 50. It looks like to me, and I know this stock fairly well from the months of watching it, the best moves do come when it gets above the 200 and the 50. Now that I know this, I may wait. I think buying off of value is very, very good. That's great English. Very, very good, right? It could be better, but I think if it does hit a good value, which I think the best value here would probably be closer to like $5 exactly in this area. But if it does show some life and start to curl, sure. But if it can get back above the 200 and the 50 for me, we can see some massive moves. So I like it here. I don't love it. I think it's pretty good. I want it a little bit cheaper, or I want some sign of confirmation. RSI, low. That's great. Stochastic, low. That's great. And then, of course, bears getting overbought. They're getting overbought. Bulls getting oversold. So again, a 9 out of 10 and 8 out of 10 kind of setup. I think fundamentally you need to do your research on this one for sure. And I think you need to decide, do you want to be a kind of guy who buys off of value, or girl, or you want to go off of a crossover, whatever that may be, EMA, SMA, MA, 10, 50, 100, whatever it is, kind of crossover. Again, CRK has a bunch of potential, but you got to make sure your entry is clean and you have a stop loss. But I like it a lot. So next is DraftKings, and a lot of folks are like, why are these squares here? You didn't move them. Well, I wanted to show you what I do. I make pretty accurate price targets. I called it over here, saying it looks pretty good, and it dipped, and I was like, hey, it looks pretty good, and then it ran up like 30%. So for those of you who took that, you're welcome, right? So these are probably still pretty accurate. I would definitely take my buy-in zone, put it probably right about her. My price target, probably right about her, low-key. Make my moonshot right about here. Then, of course, my stop loss. It's a pretty well-known ticker anywhere down here if it doesn't live, right? I want to see higher lows. If it does break below here, I'd be kind of concerned. So DraftKings, again, the fundamentals, I don't got to talk much about it, right? Betting's become huge. You know, gambling's legal in a lot of states now. Folks like it. Football's coming back in a few months. It's a good setup, right? I think this channel's large. I think it is probably too large. But this trend line right here, this top one, is beautiful. I think the support area, mine was a little low, but you could easily draw yours a little bit higher. You know, right about here probably, and you could be just fine. I think the downside, you know, it's a hype stock. It can plummet anytime folks, institutions pull their money out. But you have a pretty easy price target, 7, 8, 10, 15%, maybe you lose 2 or 3. So DraftKings, I like it a lot. Earnings, it's still negative, but again, it's a really good setup nonetheless. I call what I see. I don't like calling hype stocks, but DKNG, looking pretty good. Chef Boy swing in the house. Let's check the indicators. And you would be like, oh goodness, it broke the 200. Yeah, but it does that historically. If it does it historically, don't freak out. So it's below the 200 and the 50. That's okay. But again, for your temporary, for your short-term price targets, if you're going to put your price target up here at like $72, you're not going to probably get that for a very long time, a few weeks at least. I think short-term, you can get to 64, 65, $66 here, break above both EMA lines. Sell half your position, let the rest of it run. You're being much smarter, for sure. But when it gets above the 50 and the 200, that's where you get your big moves, and they're close together. If you can put an alert at $64, it gets up there and holds. You're going to be in that money for sure. That's going to be beautiful. RSI, it's where you want it. Or you would want it maybe 3, 4 pips or little dots, you know, points lower. That's fine. Stochastic is below 40 and curling. Daddy likes. And we can see that the bulls are oversold-ish. Bears could be more overbought. All right, they can be a little more. But overall, DKNG, when it comes to an uptrending stock that has a lot of hype behind it, you're not going to get much better technicals than this, not much better indicators than this. It could be better if it's maybe a day or two if it keeps dropping off. Yeah, don't buy it if it continues to drop. It's still red. If you have no sign of life, don't buy into it. But you can go into a shorter time frame, 10-day, 20-day, 30-day time frames. See if you have any kind of green candles holding and showing some life. That may be great. But overall, DKNG moving forward, it's a good pickup. This is a rare, like my steak. If you eat well-done steak, you're an animal. Knock it off. It's very un-American too. I'm kidding. My fiance eats it well done. Gross. We can see this is a gorgeous ascending triangle. This is the same resistance it can't hit, but it has higher lows across the board. Oh, I like ascending triangle so much. So I'm a little bit partial to being more emotional with ascending triangles. They're my favorite. I do like channels horizontally and channel ups as well. I think I've called PFSI fairly recently. I think within the week, because I had these drawn on here, but I think I called it over here and it did very well for us. This is a great area to buy into. Again, the POC is actually relevant. This is a relevant play for us. We can see that the POC, what happens here? Consolidation, a lot of price action. Boop, 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 back and forth. There's a chance it may get lower because of that. It may get lower and then pull back up. So you got to think. It can get lower. It's showing red. No real signs of life quite yet. I'd give it a day or two. With that also being said, though, the POC is a very strong support. If this does hold, which we're hoping it does, it's going to be a fantastic setup. I think hitting the top of the resistance over maybe a month is extremely logical to think about. I definitely wouldn't plan on that. I would definitely take half my profits when I got to my price target area. This is probably a little high. I'd probably go for, we're about there. That looks good to me, right? You don't want to get the full move. You don't want to get greedy. A lot of y'all are going to get greedy anyway, so I'm trying to help you to not be as greedy. This is a really good setup right here. I love it. Such a good looking triangle. Chef Boris swings in the house. John Stonkton said, ooh, pump fake. PFSI for my boys. What's up? Let's check the indicators. So once again, it breaks the 200, but it's always come back. It's almost like the regression mean line for this ticker, right? It gets below it, and it comes back with some force. So again, not overly concerned, but your short-term price target needs to be based on the fact that these will be resistances moving forward, and it has a hard time breaking above it and below it. So again, I think $62, sell half, take the rest, makes a lot of sense. RSI is under 30. Delicious. The stochastic was dummy low a day ago and it started to curl up. Delicious. Look at that vortex. Whew. Mercy me, I think I have the vapors. So this is a that's my best Blanche Devereaux that I have in me. This is a beautiful setup. I like it a lot. I don't want to get emotional. Don't want to get emotional with this one. Shout out to the play doctor, keep me humble. But this is a great setup. PFSI moving forward. I do like this one a lot. Next is RVMD, but you just called it. All he does is call the same tickers. No, I call value, and this stock is now back at value. And again, I kept my things here to show you again why I'm good at what I do, I guess, and this is why I hope to teach you guys. My price targets are reasonable. This is I called it right over here. It's like, hey, it's getting pretty good to the support area. Right below our buy-in, it goes up. It hit our price target. It also then hit our moonshot, and then it died. So again, these are all fairly good. I definitely think that we should take our buy-in price. Again, probably put it right about her. And again, I would definitely accurately change these later for my Discord folk, for your nightly newsletter, my sweet babies. I think a good price target, again, we have a resistance that I think is still strong. I want to see a break above that. And our moonshot, again, I wouldn't really change much. Looks pretty good. Boom. Right? This is a clear channel. Now, are you like, oh God, I broke it? Well, I think also I may have been a little aggressive. I think you can definitely do one of these and see that we still have a little wick here. That looks really good. This POC is holding. I think it could be lower. I think RVMD could continue to pull back a little bit, but I think if we were to zoom in on a different time frame, we can see it's coming out and now it's starting to curl. So if it does start to curl and show some life on a different time frame, I like it a lot. RVMD, again, 47.5 hard resistance. You have a lot of support beneath it, a lot of convergence. I like it a lot. Let's check the indicators. Ooh, Mon Cherie, speak to me nice, don't speak to me at all. See that 200 EMA line right there? See that 50? So we have options. You can buy off of value. I think it's at value. I think potentially it can get lower, but if you're gonna wait for it to get lower, it's gonna wick and you're gonna freak yourself out the whole time. It may be a rough ride for a few days. You want to wait for it if it does actually come down. And I think the 50 crossover makes the most sense. It crosses the 50. What do? You take your computer and you put a stop loss below the 50, but close to it. That way your risk is small, like your ego should be. And so you put a stop. If it does cross above the 50, you could give up 3% for this. I think value also works for this. It gets above the 50. You put your stop loss at like 45, 55. All right. If it comes back down, it's a fake out. You broke even. God forbid. But again, good value, good crossover play. Both are on the table. RSI could be lower, but it's uptrending. All right, it's going up. You're not gonna always get everything. It does reverse here. It does hold here. And it's curling. Stochastic is dummy low. And a little bit of curls happening. If that starts to curl up north, Papa likes. The only problem is that it says that bears are oversold and bulls are overbought. So could be concerning, but it also could mean that this run is going to continue. So not overly worried. Because I had chili, sorry. It's so good. RVMD, the price action looks really good. So I'm going to, everything else looks good besides this. Overall, 9 out of 10. It's medicines. I like it. RVMD moving forward could be a real snack. Last and not least is SWN. I love this ticker because a good friend of mine who trades, my boy Chris. What's up, Chris? found this on accident, and he found it literally, I think it was right in this day. He found it like right here, like, hey, I was trying to find a different one. This one looks pretty good. And next day around like 12%, and we were all like, so that was pretty cool. And again, you're probably thinking, well, it's not in value. Well, the support's super strong. It is a good support area. I think it also reverses quite often above the channel. I know SWM pretty well, and I think the 200 EMA line is what it's bouncing off of. So again, this is such an easy read. You can just tell it's fantastic. If I turn the indicators, I think you'll see what I mean. Oh boy, who knew? Not me, Mr. Cheats a lot. Well, I just know this ticker really well from our friend. So it's bouncing off the 200. It's right here. It's bouncing really well. RSI, good job. RSI is super low. Beautiful. Stochastic, super low. Beautiful. And then the Vortex is dummy low. Ooh, I have no other good Blanche references from Golden Girls. Hey. So I got premature with that button click. But this looks pretty good. SWN, I think it could be lower. I think it may get lower. But with this life right here, you can see this candle. It's showing some life here. If it breaks above the 200 and it holds, might have to go with this one too. This is a good day. We have a lot of good tickers right now. Ooh, looking real nice. But SWN overall, it's gorgeous setup. And there you guys have it. Those are 8 really good tickers. You guys can play it tomorrow and into Friday. Now, Jerome Powell just spoke today. I don't know what that's going to do to the markets. We do have a bunch of recovery coming. We do have a lot of, not unemployment, but the eviction notices will start going out pretty soon here, I think. It's going to get real choppy. I think it get a little rough. But I think also, if we keep printing money like Jerome Powell is, we could see quite a nice run up still. And I'm not going to get overly bullish or bearish. Keeping my ego out of it, all my confidence out of it, just going off of technicals. A lot of great tickers a day, and you guys should follow suit. You never want to get overly euphoric or overly scared, but you want to be contrarian enough to where you're being modest and you're being less ego involved in those kinds of things. These are great tickers, a great channel. All the support I've been getting, it's fantastic. I do appreciate you. Again, if you like this kind of content, if you sat through 30 minutes for just me and maybe my kitty, which you may not have seen as well today, but he's right here. You can see him. Gremlin. Wow. You know, if you come here for us, we do appreciate you nonetheless. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Again, the Discord's available. It's fantastic. If you don't want to join, I'm not even going to be upset about it. We have a great community. If you want to join, fantastic. If not, also fantastic. Have a good rest of your Thursday, right? I don't even know what day it is, man. It's been with break. Yeah, it's Thursday. We'll see you guys on, actually tomorrow. I have a new episode coming out on Fridays. But I'll see you guys tomorrow for our recap of the week. Have a good one.